We are solid. We are set. We are
solid,
live.
We are solid snake, man.
We are back once again on this beautiful Sunday evening. Welcome back to World's End Party Plan. I'm your host, Pseudo.
With bourbon.
I'm sipping on some bourbon, man. Listen, it's Sunday night. Fuck you, man.
Hey, listen.
This is my Saturday night.
Bro, look, I didn't complain about the bourbon. The bourbon, I think, is fine.
Bourbon is classy, bro.
Look, man, I tried that bourbon, bro. You gave me that bourbon in that little cup. All right,
I did.
I took a little sippy sip. I wasn't liking it. I wasn't digging it, bro. I wasn't digging it. But when I smelled this shit, it definitely had that cinnamony and a little pineapple-y smell to that. So
Yeah.
I definitely enjoyed that.
Oh, well, I'm glad you like that.
But unfortunately, it didn't translate in my mouth the same way.
You're not there yet. You know? Listen, it's a hike.
Look, man, here's the thing is that so Pseudo was trying to walk me through this, and basically what happened was he goes, there's like a freaking science to this shit. He's like, listen, man, you can't have it in your mouth for too long, but then you can't have it in there for too short. You gotta have a nice balance and shit. If you don't have the proper balance, what'll happen then is it'll burn more, and then damn, how long? Like, where's the timer? What is the timer?
Listen, you're also skipping multiple steps because a lot of people start off with like they'll put it in a cocktail. They'll get like a Manhattan or they'll get a whiskey sour or something like that, right?
Okay. Which
is a whiskey-based or a bourbon-based cocktail. And then obviously it's got other shit in it. And then they'll start with that. Yeah. And then maybe they'll say, okay, I want you to put it on the rocks. And when you put something on the rocks...
What does that mean?
When you put it on ice. And it basically just means, so you put a bunch of ice in there. And what that does is not only does it change the flavor profile through cooling the liquid, which doesn't give you the full flavor, it kind of nulls the flavor. I don't remember the statistic, but I think it was something like 30 or 40% of the flavor is lost.
Damn.
And the burn is lost. And then you work your way, and then you take the ice out, and then maybe you'll just have a little bit of chilled whiskey, or you'll add water to it. And
whiskey.
And then you sip neat. So
sip
if you're
neat.
skipping those,
that?
Sip it neat means drink it like this with nothing in it.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and for me, like, I mean, I've been drinking, for a few years now, but like, I started with wine, I was used to alcohol. I drank beer in college and high school, whatever.
How dare you?
So I was used to the alcohol. And then once I got into whiskey, it definitely, at first, it kind of sucked. Like there was always something small that I liked about it that kept me persisting, not like on an alcoholic level, just like on a level of like, well, I like that for this reason. I wish it didn't burn so much. Or I wish I didn't like this flavor. Then I would try new things and pick out different things that I liked from each whiskey.
Yeah.
Then I found a few bourbons like Eagle Rare or, Buffalo Trace, whatever. I like those, and that kind of brought me back to trying new things, and then I started to enjoy the flavor profile, and then over time, I got accustomed to the alcohol burn. And so, but I also, a lot of the reason why I got acquainted to it was because the things that I told you is that you got to hold it in your mouth, because I would shoot it down real fast, and when you shoot it down real fast, you're missing all of the flavor that's hidden in the bourbon.
It goes,
and you just taste the alcohol. But, I still get a burn sometimes. Like if it's my first sip of the night or something, then I'll get that burn and it sucks. But then you get used to it, and then you take another sip and another sip. I sip 3, like the burn's gone for me, basically.
It fucks the vibe, man.
Yeah, it does. So
I feel you, dude. Well,
there's a science to it. Same thing with like when you sip wine or whatever. There's just something to it that you have to get over. It's the alcohol. Once you get over that, and then you start to taste other things in the alcohol, that the different flavor profiles and things, is when you start to kind of push past the idea of like, this is alcohol, I don't like it.
Well, I do thank you for that lesson in alcoholism and proper alcoholism.
Of course. Listen, if you're going to be an alcoholic, you might as well enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? Because there's people out there that are just like, hey, I'm just trying to get drunk.
I'm just trying to get you fucked up, man.
I don't remember the last time that I've been like, I might once a month, maybe, or like once every other month, where I'm just like, I'm hanging out with friends, or it's a long week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I just want to get plastered tonight. That's what it is. I mean, I'm just being honest about it. But once it turns into like, hey, every day that you drink or every week that you drink, you want to get drunk, that's the problem.
Right.
So,
and
that's why I like bourbon a lot. Is like, that's why I don't like beer too much. Especially if it's cold outside.
Right.
I'm not going to be really drinking beer a lot because it's cold. It doesn't fit well.
Yeah.
To the temperature. And, I like the bourbon is because it's like vodka. It basically just has no flavor. It's alcohol flavored.
Vodka.
And you use vodka to spike other things.
Right.
But the reason why I like bourbon in particular is because it has a lot of flavor to it that you can kind of pick apart.
Well, allow me to share this real quick with the audience because, as you might recall, what a few weeks ago when I was here, when I was drinking those strawberry daiquiris, bruh, my mom was texting me, and she was like, "What are you doing?" Because she's always suspicious and shit. Like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Okay. I mean, I'm at a friend's house. We're having some fun. She's like, "You drinking?" I'm like, I mean, look, man, because listen, I am not.
You're 24 years old too.
Yeah,
That's another thing.
That's another thing.
If you want a fucking beer,
have a fucking beer. So
Exactly.
yeah, so I'm 24.
and you're not a driver, so you're
Damn straight. So I'm 24. I'm sitting here. My mom's texting me as if I'm like goddamn 18 years old, if that. And hey, you drinking yet? And so I'm like, yeah, ma, I had a beer. And yeah, I had a beer. All right, don't goddamn crucify me. I had a beer. And so she's like, be careful. If you keep having those beers, what's gonna happen is your life's gonna go down the drain. You're gonna do. I'm like, Mom, like holy shit, like calm the fuck down. Like I'm good. I just had one goddamn daiquiri. Okay, don't watch your life. Watch your fucking like. God, fuck, bro. No wonder I have anxiety. Holy shit, fucking what? You fucking explode, bro. I'm like, thank you, Mom. Thank you. I needed this for this night. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
yeah. Your mom's very excessive.
You're right.
Holy shit. It's very concerning.
It is concerning.
The amount of things that go down when you're a 24-year-old guy. You're a man, basically.
I'm a man.
And you turn it in, and then like there'll be situations like, for example, if you don't mind me telling the story.
What?
During the snowstorm, when I was trying to get you to come over, like hang out, watch movies, maybe we could podcast.
Have fun.
We had to podcast. That was like the main concern.
Yes.
But then the other thing was like, hey, let's hang out. If we have a drink, we have a drink. But that's not, the highlight of the situation.
Right.
We're like going to watch a movie. We're going to podcast, watch a movie, maybe watch YouTube videos, whatever. Just do our usual shtick of hanging out. And your mom is just like, you're like, all right, I got to talk to my mom about this first. And that's the first moment that I was like, this is not going to go well. Because when you approach your mom and you're like, hey, do I need permission to do this, is when it's never going to work. If I were you, I would have just been, especially you're 24, I would have just been, listen, I'm going. Yeah, there's a snowstorm going on, but Brandon lives, I live like 2 minutes from your house.
Legit, yeah.
And I was still driving around. And bottom line is I ended up going to your house because your mom said no. And It's just things like that because I guess she was like, the snowstorm. She was afraid of being alone in the snowstorm.
Oh my God, yeah.
But like, where is she going to go? You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing, because what the audience needs to understand about my mother is that she is kind of like a mental terrorist. And so what she'll do is she'll try and like manipulate the situation. Like, oh, so, okay, so for example, I'll be like, hey, Ma, so I want to go over to Brandon's house, man, have some fun, whatever. She's like, and leave me alone? And just leave me here? Like, you see, then right there, you're fucked. Then if you try and leave, then you're the asshole. So she tries to do this little like fucked up game of chess, right? Where she has all the stops. She can do whatever she wants to do with it. And then all she has to do is ask you that one question. That one question where you're the fucking prick. Like, you leave me alone? You leave me alone? Huh? Just like your fucking father did? Huh? Like, what the
Jesus, man.
Excuse me?
This is a bummer, bro.
Excuse me? What the fuck? Oh my God. Like, dude, man. Jesus Christ. I have to leave the house, dude.
Yeah, listen, man. Sheesh.
When I get the money, man, the guy move the fuck out of there, bro.
You got to get out of there, bro. I've been telling you for a minute now.
Holy shit. Listen, man, and I guarantee, because you informed me that the majority of our audience is like Gen Z, millennials, and type. I guarantee we have listeners that can relate to that kind of shit.
Oh, of course.
Oh, my God.
I'd say at least half listening or in a similar situation.
Jeez.
And it's not their fault, A lot of times it's just the burden that was laid upon us as millennials and as Gen Z is that we got a bunch of student loan debt. It's hard to find a place. Another ridiculous thing. So for those at home, so yes, Brendan lives at home with his folks still, temporarily. And I've been out of my parents' house for a year and a half, 2 years now almost. Now I'm 23, he's 24. So, but when I was looking for apartments and I was looking at the situation now, I have a roommate as well, just to, clarify.
How dare you?
But when I was looking for an apartment, just the amount of, not only do you have to pay first month's and last month's rent to get the place, you have to put down the security deposit, you have to have a credit check. And like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, who are the people that are moving in these apartments? Like, we live in it, and I'm not going to disclose where exactly we live.
Right.
But in the place that we live, which is an hour outside of New York City, is not the place where people go to excel, exactly. So who are the type of people that are going to be getting these apartments? Not the type of people that can afford the fucking, the first month, last month, security deposit, credit check. No, it's a bunch of kids out of college or kids in college commuting down to the city, or young single people or young couples. Basically, maybe they're having a kid, they can't afford this shit.
Right.
So I just the amount of bullshit that's happening. So I don't blame you for being in the situation that you're in right now. Is what I'm trying to say.
Because I think the biggest thing that now in your case, you had circumstances where you had to do this a little bit sooner. In my case, I feel like a lot of people in our generation kind of feel this rush to move out of the house, and it is understandable because you don't want to be.
Well, a lot of it's too. It's I don't want to speak on behalf of everybody here,
sure.
But my parents especially. I mean, my mom's always been pretty good, but my stepdad, we got a weird relationship. I know I care about him, and I know he loves me. It's just a weird situation. But there was this feeling of like when I was 18, I was out of the house because he was also from he's technically a boomer, so he was from a different generation.
Yeah.
And back then, it was acceptable. 19 years old, you're got an apartment. You're out. You're getting a job, or you're in college in a dorm, and that's just not realistic these days.
Right.
Especially not the area that we live in, which is not a college town. So I mean, it's one thing if like you're out in wherever you're in Buffalo, you're in Albany, New York, where it's a college town or it's a major city.
Yeah, we're like the freaking community college town.
Exactly, and there's a community college fucking everywhere. So that just goes to show. But the bottom line is that these millennials, these kids, people our age, they're not. The only way I can hold down this apartment right now is with my roommate. If he left, then I would be screwed, and I'd probably have to move back in with my parents.
Yeah.
So, or with my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the unfortunate world we live in, man.
That's right, and it's kind of interesting, but I think that one of the things that we can learn, maybe people in our generation going through these kinds of situations, is that I think we kind of get a better understanding of how important it is to have each other's back in order to succeed, in order to excel.
Wow, this got very like
legit, dude.
Let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya, bro.
I mean, and then just jerk each other off. I mean, totally, dude. I mean, in a frenzy. But seriously though, it's that kind of thing where with some bourbon, yes, ooh, bourbon, baby, oh yeah, baby, cinnamon, pineapple, oh yeah. No, but that's basically what has to happen nowadays, and that's why and obviously we'll and I guess this will kind of ties into our political shit, but that's our Sundays and Mondays, but basically where. That's why I never liked that conservative idea of like, pick yourself up out the bootstraps, self-reliance. Do your thing all on your own. You can do it. Like, listen, man, it's this nonsensical idea that, all right, we have you as one person have all the power in the world. All you have to do is just stop being a lazy piece of shit. And then you'll be fine. Excel. Do what you have to do. Be rich. Be wealthy.
It is
Cool Whip.
It's sad, and you'd be surprised the amount of people that come into. So, like, I work at a store, so I work retail, much like you are now.
Oh yeah,
that's big, and we'll talk about that because I don't think you've updated the podcast about that. But I work retail. You will be going into retail, and you have worked retail for many years.
Yeah.
So better half of a decade.
Yeah.
And me too. And just these boomers that come in, and not even just boomers, Gen X too, like our parents' age, maybe like an older sibling's age, that come in that are just on the cusp of being a millennial, that come in and say, oh, well, you know what? They have this impression that like, I'm not a boomer. I get you. But then they come in and they're like, oh, well, you know what? I got a full ride scholarship, or even that, or they'll come in and they'll be like, yeah, I'm still paying off student loan debts. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, what are you doing? Because they'll ask me like, are you going back to college? You going back to college? You doing this? You doing that?
You don't get more debt?
And then I'm asking them, and I'm like, what did you do? And they're like, okay, well, I went to Iona College, or I went to SUNY Albany, or I went to private school in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing in this area? Well, I work customer assistance for Spectrum.
Right.
I make $18 an hour, and I have a kid on the way, and I'm living in an apartment.
Oh, jeez.
And they're 31. Or 32 years old. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, why are you telling me I need to get back to college when clearly that didn't pay off for you? It's like there's this weird disconnect.
So that really happened, huh?
Yeah, it happens all the time. I'm just saying to people like that all the time.
Listen, man, look, unless if you were some sort of like top business dude at these cable companies making like $40 an hour.
No.
Just
I mean, listen, I mean, for somebody like me or you,
yeah,
it makes sense that, I mean, I did not finish college. You did not finish college.
right.
We're doing this podcast thing. We have other retail jobs, and we're saving for the future so we can move out west or do whatever the hell we want to do in the future.
Damn straight.
Because we're sure as hell not getting stuck here.
No. Now.
But that's a good job for us while we're saving. And I have no intentions of having kids.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. I don't plan on getting married. You don't. In the near future.
Yeah, maybe in my 30s.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm thinking in my 30s too.
Yeah.
So, and I think, and often, you know, what's a funny thing while we're on the topic of marriage?
Yes.
I feel like millennials often, people often say that millennials get married like really young, and I feel like that's the complete opposite of the situation.
I feel like there's just less marriage in general amongst our generation.
Exactly.
More
and
divorce,
I
yeah.
think most people 9 out of 10, like I will say, I do say see people our age getting knocked up and having kids.
Oh, yeah.
I know several.
Me
In
too.
fact, a few of my ex-girlfriends are pregnant.
Jesus
So,
Christ. Really?
not going to say their names.
Damn.
Nice people, though. Nice people.
There we go. No, very nice people.
Trying
Very
to
nice.
say that as nice as possible.
Very good people. Not snakes at all.
But they're not, you know, I don't see anybody getting married. And people that I talk to now are like, oh, like I talk to my parents, right? And they're like, oh, yeah, we got married at 25 or, you know, whatever. No, my parents didn't. They got a little later, almost 30, they got married or whatever. They had me at almost 30. So they probably got married at 27 or something.
Oh, wait. So they had you before they turned 30?
I think my mom was 29 or 20. Or 30.
Really?
Yeah, well, I don't want to say my mom's. She'll get upset if I say what her age is.
74.
No. My mom, I think, had me on the cusp of 30. I'm
Wow.
pretty sure.
Mom had me when she was like, what, 34, I want to say?
Really?
Maybe? She was in her 30s, yeah.
Wait, how old is your mom? Do you care?
I don't give a shit.
Okay.
She's like, what, 50, like, she was born in 64, so she's like 55. I mean, so I'm 24,
So she had you.
like 31.
Okay, yeah. Well, see,
Holy
my
shit,
my mom is a similar age to that, but younger.
Yeah,
So-
my dad had 10 years on my mom, so
Yeah.
he's like 63 right now. So he was already approaching old fart status.
Yeah, like, I think my dad was born in 64, 65 or something.
Damn.
So
Honestly, like
similar age.
Good.
But the bottom line is I see people saying that like, oh yeah, like, you know, I talked to my grandparents, they got married at like 22 or some shit or 23, you know, like that age, and then they were having kids before 30. So it's just strange to me. Like, yo, I found out my great grandma, she got knocked up. My great grandma got pregnant with their first kid at I think 16
holy
or
shit,
something.
really?
But we're talking about great grandma though, so we're talking like 1940s.
40s, okay.
Yeah. So, you know, World War II era.
Damn.
So, and also, but I mean, back then it made sense because it was like more kids, more to provide for the family. Like that, it was a different
And then
situation.
Didn't the woman stay at home more often during that time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although my great grandma had a really crazy life with multiple men and shit. So
She was
it's
not
a soap
hell
opera.
yeah.
It's a soap opera story. It's crazy.
Days of Our Lives. ABC.
So
7 a.m.
But yeah, so
Mondays.
but you know, most people that I talk to that are millennials that are our age and that the 20 to 25 age bracket, they're all saying like, yeah, 31, 32, I'll get married and have kids, you know, around there.
Yeah.
So it's not us that are making that argument.
Right. Honestly, for me, it's been kind of crazy because even though I'm 24 now, I'm going to be 25 in July. What's been interesting is just this, because, you know, you've always talked about this disconnect that I wanted to make with my age, where it's not being afraid of like, because I think what happens is people tend to live their lives a lot by their age, if that makes any sense, in terms of their goals or what their interests are supposed to be, how they're supposed to live by this certain point in their lives. And for me, honestly, I think that's very, well, it's probably not even a proper way of using this word here, but I think it's very trapping, if you will, and it kind of locks you down to this pattern that has been followed for so many decades, you know, honestly, maybe for hundreds of years, where it's just this generic lifestyle of, okay, you grow up and by the time you're this decade, okay, you have a job now, this decade you settle down, like, goddamn, dude.
Yeah.
No. Like for me and my kid, like for example, I was in the bathroom getting ready and shit, and I was just like, I was looking in the mirror, I'm like, shit, like I'm an adult, you know, I'm 24, but like I don't feel it. I still feel like 20.
Yeah.
21.
I feel the same way. And it's weird to see because a lot of the people that I graduated high school with, you know, I'll bump into. It's a smaller town that we live in.
Oh, yeah.
Smaller city, technically.
Everyone knows everyone.
Everybody knows everyone.
Better for
But I
worse.
bump into these people. And in fact, I have a coworker that I went to high school, graduated with, so, and then today some of his friends came in and I knew them from high school. And it was just crazy because I see them and I'm like, man, these guys are like, and it's not always the case because there's definitely people that still act the same way or they still look the same way. Or
Yeah.
they still like their age is appropriate. But some of the kids I saw today, man, I was like, shit, like that. He's fully tatted up. He's muscular now. He's losing his hair or something like that.
Oh, God.
It's crazy. So I'm seeing that. We have a friend of ours that just got out of the military that's been in there for a long time. And now
Yeah.
he's like trying to get he's getting a steady job and he's looking at buying a house and he's like 24.
Yeah.
So, but it's just crazy to me. Sometimes I do feel like I'm stuck in that youth cycle. Like I still feel like, for all of the things that I do, I often, how do I want to put this? I think it was similar to what you were saying.
Yeah.
It's just that I do feel like I'm still in college or graduating high school. Like I still kind of
Right.
feel that age because I think I do mature things. I mean, I'm not exactly, I know kids that are going to be doctors pretty soon that I went to high school with
Yeah.
and they're doing that or they're married now or whatever. A few of them anyway, not a ton
Jesus
to back up
Christ.
my point from earlier. But I do really feel a lot of times like I started the podcast thing and I know a lot of people probably kind of scoff at that I went to high school with like, oh, what, another white kid with the podcast.
Jeez, man.
You didn't finish college. Oh, well, I always figured,
Damn millennials.
So, but I
Choosing
look at
their
it-
own path.
And listen, like sometimes because I know, and I don't want to bring this too far down the road because we have other things that we want to
Yeesh.
talk about. But I kind of want to tie it slightly into mental health as well because
Please
it
do.
does, because depression and stuff like that. Sometimes I feed into it. Like
Oh
I
my
remember
God,
yesterday,
yeah.
I was in the shower and I was thinking about it because showers where all the thoughts happen.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, like, man, like I'm doing a podcast. I didn't finish college. Like what am I doing? I was going to be a cop, and then I wanted to be a historian for a while. Like I wanted to do these I want to go down these educated paths. And then I realized to myself, and I was like, you know what? I got a job. I moved out of my parents' house. Not that that's a huge make or break,
Right.
but I'm doing my own thing. I got a
It's a
car.
point, though.
Yeah. It's like I'm making progress. I don't have the biggest savings right now, but I'm working on it. I got this podcast to look forward to doing with you a couple times a week, and then I got my solo show coming up. And I stay relatively educated. Like I spend a decent amount of time reading books or watching videos and articles, and like I keep myself educated. So yeah, it wouldn't be like, oh, I don't have a college degree, so it wouldn't be equivalent to that. But I definitely I pick and choose the things that I want to learn and understand.
And not only that, but here's the thing too: is that I think that I don't know if the word is lucky, but we're in a time where college degrees, depending on, of course, like there's fields where it matters still to this day, but we're growing up in a time now where college degrees are not really as important as they used to be. So because for example, like how many kids have we seen that have like bachelor's degrees still in like fast food or shit like that?
Oh, yeah.
And I know that it could partially depend on what you major in. That's certainly a factor, of course. But of course, there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
The only guarantee there is in college is for most people is debt. That's going to be the guarantee.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah. That's the biggest thing right
Unless
there.
if you got some sort of scholarship. Full
Exactly.
ride.
Those kind of situations, or like
But
sports.
a lot of times they don't even pay off either.
No.
Because a lot of times, like let's say you get a sports scholarship, and you go to a pretty well-renowned school,
Ivy League.
or an Ivy League, or something that really pushes you in the athletic direction.
Right.
Like yeah, that works out. But a lot of times these kids get away with lacking certain classes or not taking the class, not focusing as much on their academics and excelling in the athletic department.
Right.
And they get away with this because they got that scholarship, but they didn't really learn too much because they didn't focus on the education. That's not always the case,
Right.
but that happens sometimes. So even the people that do get full ride scholarships for sports, sometimes they don't really learn too much in college.
And you're right. And I think that what also gets underestimated a lot. And I had this, what was it? I might have mentioned this on podcast already about, when I was talking to my eye doctor or whatever. And so,
Dr. F, man.
Dr. F, bro. And so what happens is that what gets underrated is the idea of getting trades, man, like getting a certificate. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like those are
Oh,
not
totally, yeah.
not only are those kind of jobs more in demand, but you can almost guarantee getting a job with a certificate, depending on what you get. But and it still looks good. And honestly, a lot of employers seem to be looking for just experience, hands-on experience, rather than a paper. Like, what was it recently? Elon Musk came out talking about, how it's like, hey, for my company, like, what kind of experience do you have? Like what is your hands-on situation?
Yeah. Now, listen, I kind of want to debate that point a little bit.
Go ahead.
Now, I want to agree with you. And I do see instances where they don't want to see a degree or they don't need the experience. Like they want to see you hands-on. They want to see you get the job done.
There's exceptions, obviously. Yes, there are.
But I want to make the argument because oftentimes I feel like that's like I don't see that as much or anywhere as much as I see, okay, this kind of degree is required still. Or, you need 5-7 years of experience in this field for something. So I was looking on Indeed not too long ago, right?
Yeah.
And now in our area, they're hiring for solar technicians, right?
Right.
Which is a relatively new job field.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it's been around for probably 2 decades now,
but still
it was obscure. It was a niche job market. And then I saw there, and they were hiring. It was like entry level, and they said 5 years of installing solar panels experience to work here. Yeah. And I was just thinking to myself, like, if that's the case, if that's gonna like, how can we carry on into the future if you need experience for everything? Like, who has 5 years? If it's an entry level job and it's a new job market, who has 5 years of experience with this? Except for maybe 2,000 people in the country that have done this for 10 years or 20 years.
No, you bring up a good point there, and I think it depends on the company as well. You'll have some companies that have these really just ludicrous requirements. Like, okay, how are we going to get these kind of things?
My question is, like, how do they even hire? My question is like, who? Have you met a single solar installer before?
Installer? No, I've met people who sell the panels, but not actually installers. No.
Yeah, well, I guess the selling is a lot more intuitive.
I mean, like, honestly, like, I could do that because all it is just, do you have any sales experience? All right, cool. Then do this commission job.
But I mean, even if you're trying to install, why not say, okay, maybe 1 year preferred, and then say, but if not, we will train you on the job.
Right. That's the thing. Because
or even just say, okay, we offer 1 month or a 3-month internship where you can do it once a week or twice a week, and maybe you won't be paid for it, but this will open up an opportunity for you to get the job and for you to become an installer. Something along those lines. Obviously, nothing too demanding if it's not going to be paid.
Right. No, but here's the thing, though, is that that could be a thing. But also, what if they just had, okay, hey, maybe 3 months plus of hands-on experience installing something? Hands-on experience working with something that involves installing. I mean, even bare minimum. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, even that. But like, even that, it's like, what have you installed? You know what I'm saying? Like, how many average
my
people
USB cable drivers on my computer?
And at that point, but it just comes down to then if you say, okay, you need experience installing something. Then it's like still for an entry level job.
Yeah.
It's like, where are you going to get the experience from? If you can't find an entry level job where you can learn, where are you going to learn? Yeah. Not everybody can go to trade school, as much as that's a good idea.
What do you mean? Listen,
but
man.
the bottom line is, I want to circle back to something.
Yes.
So I want to circle back to what you said about it. It is good to now get into a trade and go to trade school and get that certificate.
Yeah,
it is, because I mean, I have a pretty close friend of mine, a good friend of mine, Steve. So shouts out to Steve if you're still listening to the podcast. But he got his job. He went to school for a little while, I believe, and then I don't think it was for him. And then for a while, he was working the retail gig, like he worked at ShopRite, like I did, and things like that. And then he ended up going into trade school, and it was a lot of hard work. There was a lot of homework involved. Like, I'd go over the weekends, and he'd be like, hey, man, we got to leave like 3 hours early today because, I got to do homework for this. Like, it's like legit. It's not a walk in the park.
Right.
And a lot of experience. He had to go in and work, and maybe he wasn't paid for it. It was an internship, or he'd get paid like the base level amount. And then he'd go in, and then finally he got a good gig, which I think is very rewarding for him because I'm seeing him now. He's happy. He's living his life. He's in a happy relationship. He's got things going on. He's renovating his house, things like that. And it, so I'm just saying it pays off for people. So don't ever shy away from getting into a trade.
Yeah, because I'll be frank with you, because if I did find this job that I have now with Verizon, I would have had to have honestly I would have started looking into trades. I would have started looking into those options or something like that. So I'm fortunate enough to have the opportunity to be with a company now where, if worse came to worse, that I could excel in potentially, that I could make some sort of career out of if I needed to. And luckily, this kind of job will give me enough to be able to move out with someone. I know that me and you've been talking about potential, maybe, if it ever came to that, but it'll give me more freedoms to be able to explore new avenues in my life, put it to that way.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see.
I'm glad. So let's get into that real quick before we get into, because we got a couple of political topics that we want
Yes,
to talk
baby.
about, and also another some pretty heartbreaking news for the nation. We'll get into that, but
Yeah.
So you got the job at
Yeah,
Verizon.
baby. Yeah. So honestly, this was kind of interesting because with this job, so I went on Indeed as well. Indeed.
God, I love it and I hate it, man.
Yeah, me too. Because
Get those fucking emails for something completely unrelated.
I know, right? Well,
I'll get it. Hey, it's Kathy from Indeed. We got a job offering that's just for you. And then I look at it. It's like, hey, go pick cherries in North Carolina.
I had one that was I was applying for like retail sales jobs. They had one that was like, oh, you look like you'd be a really good fit for glass door makers. Like, excuse me, where?
No,
what?
I'm convinced they probably pay Indeed to be like, hey, advertise this job to as many people as possible.
Oh my God, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So what happens is that now Indeed is notorious for having job postings that are like 30 plus days old,
Oh,
right?
yeah, of course.
So what happened was that with this Verizon gig, I was on there and I saw that it was posted because I had applied in late December. I applied December 23rd.
Yeah.
Okay. And at that point, most jobs weren't looking for seasonals anymore. At that point, they already had them. They were good to go, right? So I said, you know what? I'm not in the position where I can just take a risk and not apply. So if it's up there still, I went into the site. It said it was still active. So I applied there. So about 2 or 3, because what's today's date? Today's the 25th, right? Or 26th. Okay. So I applied on the 23rd. I didn't hear anything back until I would say mid-January. So we got a couple of 3 or 4 weeks. I didn't hear anything back. And I was ready to just say, all right, this is probably just done. But then one day I wake up and they send me an email being like, hey, we want to go further with this, fill out this information. Then once I did, legit, as soon as I hit submit, I got a phone call from HR. We had an interview set up. The interview goes fantastic.
So you're talking same day?
Legit, same day. And literally like a few seconds later.
Wow.
No exaggeration. They were like on the shit.
Wow.
So which says good things about the company, I would say. So yep, they call me up.
Or they were just really desperate, I don't want to shit on your new company here.
I mean, well, Verizon's very established, so it's like they're not one to really just,
of course.
So it's but now if it was like Sprint, so basically, the bastard child of the wireless carriers.
Yeah.
No, so what happens is do the interview. Interview goes fantastic, and then I wait about a week. I call them up. And then, because they give me a little timeline and said, hey, either we're going to let you know by tomorrow or by the end of the week whether or not you got the job or not. I said, all right, sounds good. So that timeline passes. It's about 9 days later. So now, it's last Monday. So what happens is, I said, you know what? I'm going to show the initiative. I'm going to call them and then see what's going on. So I call them up, right? And I'm like, because of course you gotta put on a good face, right? I was like, hi, I'm looking for Francisco. I said, hi, I had the pleasure of interviewing about last week. It was great. You gotta like jerk him off a little bit. And I was like, hey, so I was wondering about the status update about the position. It's like, yeah, Brendan, right? Yeah, totally. Listen, right now I'm just waiting on HR, but you were definitely one of the candidates I was looking at, and actually I was planning on offering you the position. Yeah. And I was like, what? I became like a fucking. I just blew out the mic. I just became like a fucking giddy bitch on the phone because, mind you, like not having a job is horrible.
Yeah.
And so
I knew, like, listen, I knew how much this affected your mental health. As soon as you got the job, you made like one of those really like wholesome fucking posts on Facebook. That just like, I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that, I mean, I was proud and I liked it. But like low key, I was just like, oh man. I was like, that's such like 40-year-old mom just got a new job. I'm gonna post it on Facebook. I don't know. It was just such a boomer thing to do.
Look,
or maybe not boomer. It was just such such a like middle class like I don't know. Like it just I don't.
Well,
I don't want to.
How dare you? You're just a hater, bro. No, but here's the thing that actually that was my most liked post on Facebook ever. You know,
Of course, because it's Facebook and people like wholesome shit on Facebook.
Sure.
I mean, I'm proud of you. Listen, I don't want to.
Jesus Christ.
I don't want to, subtract from the fact that's awesome.
Yeah.
But it doesn't shock me.
You know what?
You know.
In terms of the post?
Yeah, I mean, we get 2 likes or something on Facebook for our podcast because we have an edgy piece of shit for a podcast hosts. You know.
But no, but point being is that so I was feeling because at that point honestly. And this is not
like you even posted one of those like feeling enthusiastic,
feeling grateful. That's what it was.
Oh, feeling grateful.
Yes.
Okay.
Feeling humble and grateful. Hashtag humility.
Yeah.
No. But here's the thing: is that what I can equate it to, because of the fact that leading up to this, there was just like tremendous emotional strife. With the depression going on, not having any job security. So when I found this, I legit felt like the way Will Smith's character did in Pursuit of Happiness, whatever it was called.
Oh yeah, dude, that's one of the best. And I know I'm gonna geek out from film.
Please do,
right now,
because it's awesome.
But the shot when he's in the crowd of people, and he just got the job after 2 hours or 2.5 hours of this movie, him suffering, him sleeping in dirty bathrooms,
being
in the
evicted
subway, being evicted, and having to take care of his kid. His wife hates him. And then getting this job, and he's out in the street. Like, I got to put this out because I got to do the hand motion.
Put out the cigarette, bro.
And he's out in the crowd of people, and they're all just minding their own business, and he's in the back, and he's just like clapping his hand, and that is such a lovely. I got to watch that movie again.
Me too.
It's so good. That's honestly Will Smith's best performance.
It really is. And honestly, what got me was when he got hired, and then you just see his face, and he starts crying.
Oh yeah.
And so honestly,
after all the shit he did, after all the bullshit he had to go through, too, how they treated him.
That's right. And now, obviously, my situation was nowhere near what that man went through, but just the feeling of relief that you have a job, that you have that security again.
Yeah.
So that's why. That's why I just felt so. I texted all my friends. Oh my God, I got the job. Whatever. So it's definitely an awesome feeling to have that security again. So there I be.
Well, hey man, congratulations.
Thank you.
I hope that goes well for you.
I appreciate.
I hope you get the good discounts.
Oh yeah, bro.
I hope they pay well.
Yeah. I could.
Good. No,
totally.
Let's not disclose.
Oh, of course not.
Hey, man.
$1 million
good
a
shit,
year.
dude. Good shit. This is a good fucking step for you, and I know that was eating at you for a long time. So that's good.
Oh, the last thing on it, my dad. So because when you were shitting on my...
Oh, man. Your dad's such a hard ass, bro.
So when you were shitting
He's a walking, talking contradiction, man.
I love that. I love my dad.
I like him, though. I got respect for him.
No, look, here's the thing, is that... So when you were shitting on my Facebook post, it reminded me a lot about him, because my dad, he will find whatever he can, whatever way, because he'll claim that he's happy for you, but he'll find some way to make you feel
to minimize
nervous
the
about
success of the situation.
And not only that, but to make you feel nervous about it. So here's what happened. I walk into the room, right? I'm like, Dad, I got the job. He goes, okay, that's good. Okay, but hold on now. So what did they say? And I said, oh yeah, they were saying that they were planning on hiring me, whatever. He goes, oh, so they didn't hire you? I said, no, they did. And he goes, oh, well, I don't know then. They said they're planning. I don't know if they hired you. Like, no, listen, I got the job, Dad. Oh no, but they're planning. Like, holy shit. So now he has me all fucked up. And then he's like, listen, I'm like, wait to hear back from them. He got bring his hand from it.
Of course.
He's like, no, wait to hear back from them. Okay, don't assume shit.
That is such a middle-aged, I got to tell you what, your dad and my dad have so much in common, and I think it's just because they were both police officers.
Oh, yeah.
Because, no, my dad's the same shit. My dad's, he minimizes, he used to minimize, everything, man. But not in a way that, he wasn't happy for me.
Right.
But there was always some, back door. It was always like, hey, Dad, I got into OC or whatever. I want to do this program. Oh, well, yeah, that's a great program. Just make sure you should probably go do extra tutoring. I think you might need some extra tutoring.
My dad was the same way.
Exactly. There's always an but, in this situation.
So you're right. And so I'm like, Dad, are you happy for me? Or, no, I'm happy, but just wait till they call you. I'm like, all right, whatever, Dad, whatever. And then he tries to give me some advice that I've already been doing past 5 years of my life, as if this is my first retail job again. And I was, but make sure you don't look ridiculous. Get your act straight. Take off the nails. Take off the makeup. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? I've been fine. Every job that I've had, they've been fine with the fucking makeup. And I'm just saying. I'm like, you damn Puerto Rican man. How dare you, from the 50s? How dare you?
Yeah.
But
you got to do what you got to do, but I feel the same way. Listen, man, if they let you do it, then do it.
Fuck it, man.
Don't let them get to you.
But the one lesson I have learned for sure that I will always keep with me is to kind of be a little more wary of the people that I work with and not
Of
to
course.
put as much trust in them like I had at Best Buy.
And listen, I think I've been telling you that for a long time now. Like I've been telling you that for a long time now. Like I always say, keep coworkers at an arm's length away. You know, keep them at that safe, comfortable distance. Like there'd be times that I'd tell you, like, listen, man, because you'd come to me and be like, hey, this coworker did this and that, and I'm like, bro, I just think honestly, I think you're just too open with these people, and I don't think that because they're just being paid to be there. And if that wasn't the case, and they wouldn't be there, because you were the type of guy that when you worked at Best Buy, you're the type of guy that you were like, I would even be here if I wasn't paid, if you didn't have to worry about bills, because you just love it. You know what I mean? Like you just love the environment. You loved being there. I should say loved in the past.
Yep, definitely past tense, definitely.
But these are the type of people that if they do not give two shits, and if they were not being paid, they wouldn't even speak to you or look in your direction.
You're right. And you know what the trap was? And be careful about this, anybody who goes into a job. If any job comes at you with the whole, oh, we're a family here. Run. No, not even run. Just be very fucking wary.
Yeah, just be
of
careful.
a situation then, because that was my trapping. Was because for me, I love being social. I love talking to everybody. I love just being everyone's friend and confidant, whatever. And then when you fall into that family mentality, it can trick you. Then it gives you this false sense of security. And then one day someone just rips the safety net from under your feet, and then it's like, oh, what the fuck happened? So it's so just be wary of that, y'all. Totally.
Yeah, you got to be aware of a lot of things, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a decent segue, although an unfortunate segue.
Yes.
Into something that I felt like I had to address on the podcast. Now, when I called you, you were very shocked about it. Just like when my coworker told me the news today, I was very shocked. I thought it was a joke at first.
Yeah.
Because that's how crazy this is. So, unfortunately today, and listen, again, I'm not a big basketball fan. I think everybody knows where I'm going with this the day after the news coming out, I'm not a big basketball fan, although I respect the fact that this guy was an idol to many, to the youth. People looked up to him. It looks like he had a very beautiful family.
Yeah.
That he unfortunately left behind. But earlier today, Kobe Bryant got into a helicopter accident and unfortunately died alongside of his 13-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
Gianna.
God, man. Mm-mm.
So, I mean, we're still kind of trying to piece together what happened, because right now I just saw on there, originally it was 4 people died or 5 people died, and nobody knew if his family was involved with the situation. But I think now it's been confirmed that his 13-year-old daughter did pass away with him, and that now that the death toll of this accident is now up to 9 people. So, but again, we're not too sure yet. So I don't want to say anything is confirmed, but I think what we do know is that it was him and his daughter that passed away too. So
yeah,
it was crazy to me, man. It blew me away. And again, I'm not a big basketball fan, but I mean, for years I've been hearing the name Kobe Bryant, and I know what he did. I know he had a record, and I know people loved him. Yeah. And from what I know, he was a good man, and he did things for the community from what I hear. And like I said, I mean, growing up, I remember being 13 years old or 14 years old, and people on the bus were talking about him, and people that would play, basketball in high school and middle school would always talk about how Kobe was the man,
Oh yeah, I mean it was to the point whenever you would try and do a jump shot, you'd be like Kobe, because it's like hey, because he was known for being an awesome.
Even
shot.
if you're just throwing, and I know that's kind of a joke going around right now, but it is true. Like I mean, even myself, like
Me
throwing
too,
like a little piece of paper into the garbage, you always just shout Kobe. You know what I mean? It's just the thing that you do,
and then you fucking miss. Like yeah. No, but you're right. And for me, like I was saying to you in the car, but for the listeners' sake, for me, even though I have become a gothic edgelord, when I was younger, I was totally into the NBA, and I loved watching these guys. Yeah, man, you used to
play that D-ball back in the day, bro.
Yeah, I played basketball during school, elementary school, middle school, and high school. And I started getting into it back in like 04, 05, and I used to watch these ESPN, TNT, all these guys all the time. And Kobe, now while I was never a stan for Kobe, I recognized his popularity, I recognized his prowess in the NBA and the impact that he was having. And this dude is a legend, and he's totally going to be in the Hall of Fame if he isn't already, if I'm not mistaken. I have no idea, but
he did. And you know what the crazy part about this whole situation is that just yesterday,
LeBron passed him in terms of what most points score was it?
It was either most points or it might have been most threes. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, and again, he was graceful on Twitter about it, Kobe.
Totally.
I guess he was there watching him do it, and he passed him, and then he congratulated him. He tweeted out about it, and that was unfortunately his last tweet, was him congratulating LeBron James.
But I think that this kind of speaks to like the kind of man that he was. And
exactly, a humble guy.
And also,
humble
too, like,
guy.
there was that video on Twitter going around of him keeping some people company after some sort of accident happened. He got out of his car and was making sure everyone was all right and stuff like
really?
that.
I didn't hear that.
You know, that was nuts. He had this big freaking 6'7" guy, wearing all pink because it's Kobe because he has all the swag in the world.
Swag. Oh shit.
Oh my god, totally he does. Oh my god.
I just hit the mic.
How dare you? Boom. What? So it's it's definitely a shame, and I definitely like the thoughts for sure go out to his family and all the fans for sure.
And I could not imagine what his wife is going through.
Oh,
and if my sources are correct, I believe his wife is also pregnant with his fourth child, I believe.
Mm.
And then, of course, losing a 13-year-old girl, like, I couldn't even imagine that.
Yeah.
Like, that must... So, I just want to say, listen, man, again, I was never a big basketball fan, but I know that he was a legend, and that's tragic for the nation, like it is when we lose these kind of inspirations,
Of course, man.
So, I'm going to pour a little drink for Kobe here.
That's right.
Dedicate this one to Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
But, anyway,
yeah,
let's do a little. I felt like I had to say something there.
Oh, totally, for sure.
To be addressed.
The whole world was thinking about it. So yeah.
Oh yeah. So rest in peace, and we wish the best to his family
Definitely.
and to his loved ones around him.
Damn straight.
So yeah, to Kobe.
To Kobe. My God, man.
But anyway,
let's transition. Whoa.
Let's transition into some other news.
All right. News.
So I don't really have any articles pulled up, but I know there was a couple of things that we wanted to talk about.
Yeesh.
And I think we've just been kind of riffing this episode.
Yeah.
And this whole, usually Mondays we've decided in this new format for the show, we've decided to... Oh, shit. Sorry.
Decided to fix our microphone stands.
Yeah. No, we decided that Mondays we're going to stick to articles and politics and news.
Yeah.
So let's try to keep it in that category. So you were telling me something about, and I'd heard this, but I had not heard the tape or watched the tape. If it was it video or was it audio?
Audio.
It was audio. Okay.
Yeah.
Of Donald Trump talking about how in 2016, if Bernie would have been Hillary's VP choice, then he would have probably lost or something, right? Or he was scared.
He was more scared of it because the main thing Trump was talking about was, listen, Bernie's really good on trade. He's very good on trade. He understands trade, that we're getting screwed. They're screwing us in trade. So if he was to be Hillary's VP, I'd be kind of in trouble there. He wanted Biden. I think he wanted to have Biden instead, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, but that doesn't take, that doesn't take brains to know the situation.
No, legit.
No, yeah, I think this guy is terrified of Bernie. And I've been telling you that for a while now. And I think it comes from less of a place
I already
of
knew that, of course.
I think it comes, listen, and this might be controversial, even to somebody like you. It might be a hot take.
Really?
This
okay.
might be a hot take.
I'm ready for this.
I think it comes from this fear, comes less from like the fact that Bernie would demolish him. I think it actually comes from a place of respect for Bernie, as crazy as that sounds.
Okay, I'm hearing you.
So let's look at their platform, right? They both ran on populism. One is a real populist. One is a fake populist. We know which one's the fake populist.
Hillary, definitely. Yeah.
They both... And listen, again, also before I get into this, because I'm going to make a couple more comparisons, I don't compare them in the way that mainstream media compares them. Because a lot of times they use it as a weapon against Bernie Sanders.
As a pejorative.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I'm using it as in because there are genuine commonalities, just like there are with many politicians. There's genuine commonalities, like there is with Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. They have and Pete Buttigieg. They have this shit in common, right? So, but with Trump and Bernie, so they ran on populism. One's real, one's fake.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie liked this whole trade thing. Now, Trump back in the day, of course, he's always been a greedy piece of shit businessman.
Oh, yeah.
But there was a time when Trump was standing up for these sort of these trade deals, trying to work better deals out, trying to make sure that America doesn't get fucked over with these trade deals.
By China.
Exactly. So I think that he sees Bernie Sanders as somebody that's like, okay, this is the guy that he's not going to take no for an answer. He's gonna fight for the things that he believes in. If there's no climate change on that bill, he's gonna fight for that.
Right.
Or if he thinks that jobs are going to be outsourced, he's going to fight for that. While Trump might not agree with those things because Trump's just trying to make a buck.
Right.
I think he sees that as like, oh shit, like that's the shit that I was saying in the 90s, you know? So I think this comes from a place of respect, because I even remember back in 2016 or back in 2017, it was right when Trump got inaugurated, he was talking about the 2016 election, and he says what they did to Bernie was ridiculous.
Right.
So I think he's, not only is he afraid, but I think that it comes from a place of like respect, because he can never be the man that Bernie really is. I think it comes from, and plus Bernie is the most liked senator, statistically the most liked senator. Oh God! Don't even.
Oh my God!
Don't even get me started on
listen,
that video.
man, it is not surprising that every Hillary surrogate is this pompous asshole. Holy shit!
Oh,
like
God.
she finds the worst people in the world. These pompous motherfuckers that go on national television and just fucking morph reality in front of your eyes. It's a beautiful thing to watch. And you listen, you love to
It's
see
crazy.
it. You love
Honestly,
to see it.
it's crazy the levels of the amount of people that still trust her. Like it's insane, because I see, man,
These Hillary stands.
but it's so weird. So there's Hillary stands, and then there's people like some people in my family, specifically the boomers in my family, that are, I think my mom's kind of coming around, starting to see that kind of the Bernie wave a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, don't quote me on that. I've been kind of planting seeds in her brain a little bit. I've been playing strategically.
Do it.
But my uncle, for example, big Hillary guy.
Oh God.
My grandparents, big Hillary people. They were big Obama people. They were big Hillary people.
Yeah.
Of course, it's just, that's just the way it was.
That's right.
1980s neo-lib.
Oh jeez.
Dem.
Ugh.
But no, it's insane to me, because they will come out and they'll say, oh yeah, it was totally her that lost the election. But then they believe the shit that like, oh, well, you know what? But Bernie did, Bernie, he's not genuine. Like there's something, he's lying.
Nobody likes him.
Exactly.
Nobody
they'll
likes
believe
him.
that kind of petty shit. But at the very least, they will come out, which makes it kind of worse. They'll come out and be like, oh yeah, but she lost the election for herself though. And I'm like, if that's they'll say like, oh yeah, she didn't campaign strong enough. Or she didn't take Trump seriously enough. Things like that. She just kind of scoffed at everything.
Things that
so
make
they'll
sense,
come out
yeah.
and admit that. But then they'll come out and they'll believe everything she says in the following.
And the best thing about it, because she's such a freaking prima donna, she's just a damn child. She'll come out and she will never have I ever taken responsibility for anything, especially when it comes to her loss. To her losing, no, it wasn't. It was this guy's fault. It was Bernie's fault. It was these people's fault, not my fault. No, she's like Cartman. No, man, it's not me, man. Fucking bitch. No, like, damn, bro, she's horrible. She's evil.
Dude, what surprises me is the blatant amount of like flip flopping she does on all of her positions. I don't think I've ever seen a single candidate or a single politician flip-flop on as many issues as she had.
Romney.
Let alone... Okay, well... well, Romney, listen...
Romney's a blank slate, so...
Here's the thing about Romney, though, is that it was a few major issues, but with Hillary, it's everything.
That's fair, yeah.
So, like,
Real
Romney
fast.
with healthcare, yeah.
Remember the meme that, what was it? I think it was Obama that got on top of this. He goes, well, Romney's kind of like a what do they call those things? Etch-a-sketch? What was that called? The shit that
an Etch-a-sketch,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can shake it and well, Romney's that. He's Etch-a-sketch. That's what he is. And it was that bad how it got. But now you mentioned your uncle. Now this is the uncle that is LGBT, right?
Yes.
Like your boy. So the fact, all right. So how does he feel, or if he's aware of it? How does he feel?
I'm glad you brought this up.
All right. Well,
go ahead.
So how does he feel that Hillary didn't come around to gay marriage until like 2013?
It's funny. It seems like he ignores that. But remember the text messages I got the other night?
Yes.
He cannot stand Tulsi Gabbard and claims that she is a homophobic bigot.
She used to be.
She used to be.
Yeah. But then she voted.
How many years ago?
That was like, what, like 15, 20 years ago?
15, 20 years ago?
Yeah, she was very young.
Before she was in Congress?
I think so. I think that maybe I mean,
she had some
career,
sort of political standing.
Yeah, I think like early on.
Well, her family is a political family in Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken. Or like her dad was like a congressman or something.
I think, but they're definitely more socially conservative for sure.
Oh, very.
Big time.
Yeah.
And very religious.
But she came back around.
Yeah,
You know?
and honestly,
And
man,
she's also young. Hillary Clinton, I mean, in 2013, how old was Hillary Clinton?
like late 60s,
Yeah.
early 60s.
No fucking excuse.
Oh my god, man.
At least with Tulsi, she could use that excuse like, oh, well, I'm a young person. When you're young, you're very malleable. People can kind of...
Morph you.
Exactly.
You're very impressionable, totally.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, is that I think that's why it's always important to look at their voting record, because Tulsi has a literal 100% voting record that is pro LGBTQ. But her haters will still be like, but her haters will still be like, oh, but the past. Like, listen, man, like, she's someone who's shown that she can change because you've seen it through her actions, through her votes.
Yeah.
Like, take Bernie, for example. Now, Bernie, yes, while he voted against the Iraq war, he voted for the Afghanistan war. And you know how we know that he knows it was a mistake? Because every vote afterwards, it had to involve military conflict or raising the budget. It was a no on that.
It was a no.
So on that, you know.
And wars before that. I mean, he was he would protest Vietnam back in the 70s.
He was against the Gulf War too and stuff like that. Yeah, totally.
Exactly. So, I mean, sometimes people mess up. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people get convinced. I mean, listen, a lot of people voted to go to Afghanistan.
Yeah, like that seemed more reasonable.
Everybody except for Barbara Lee voted to go to Afghanistan.
One person.
And also, but I mean, the more that we've seen, like that article that came out that talked about that they fudged the numbers.
Yeah.
So like you can see how the government can convince people into thinking like they're doing a lot of shady shit here.
And
like we need to send more troops.
And
they're on their last legs. Let's send in our final batch of troops. Let's get rid of them. That wasn't even the case. They lied straight to our fucking faces.
And then the worst was even before this, when WikiLeaks released that video, of the troops in Afghanistan just mowing down innocent people, and then the helicopters laughing, and it's really fucked.
Shit, man.
And then instead of arresting the generals who commanded that shit, and instead of arresting those personnel, who do they arrest instead? Fucking Julian Assange. They arrest fucking what was her name? The oh my god, oh fuck, I forget her damn name.
I know who you're talking about.
Yes.
I'm bad on names too, but I know exactly who you're talking
So
about.
all these whistleblowers. Oh yeah, Chelsea Manning.
No,
that they arrest her, they arrest Julian Assange, and they point the finger at them as if they're the problem. Meanwhile, the problem is the military-industrial complex. The problem is all these weapons manufacturers profiting off of death.
And what about that? What about the general that they're finally getting? That they're finally going to charge? Maybe. What's
really?
The general, the Navy SEAL general, or the guy that commanded the Navy SEAL team, and now all of his SEALs came out and said that this guy's a monster.
Oh shit! Yeah, but because didn't Trump let him go?
Trump let him go.
Yeah,
but I think they're going to try to get him on something else.
I hope
now.
so.
So they're persistent with that, and even with if his Navy SEALs are coming out and saying it, like, listen, like, I'm not the type of guy that goes around saying that like just because you're in the military means like you got the right idea, like you're fighting for the right thing.
Oh yeah, no.
But military, they do build brotherhood and sisterhood. Like it's a family a lot of times. Like these people look out for each other. And if shit hits the fan, oftentimes they stick up for each other. It's any kind of fraternity of people. Same thing with the cops, stick up for each other. Same firefighters, stick up for each other. It's like a family to them.
Yeah, generally, yeah. Unfortunately, there's still a big problem with like rape with women in there, but
of course, yeah.
But generally, yeah, of course. I know what you mean, though.
I mean, I don't mean to say of course, but yeah, that's the case. I know.
Unfortunately, yeah.
But I'm saying that a lot of times, I mean, if this was bullshit, or if they think that this guy, maybe isn't as bad as they think he is or say he is, they'd be coming out and actively saying, like, no, I'm sticking up for this guy. But all of his SEALs, these brothers, basically, that they call each other, come out and say, this guy's a fucking monster. This guy is terrible. He killed innocent people and had fun with it.
Totally. And quick note on the culture of, because look, if you want to talk about if feminists want to talk about a rape culture, the military has it, because I think one of the most moving videos that I've seen was when it was Tulsi Gabbard. I think it was Tulsi Gabbard.
Oh, it's got to be Tulsi. No.
Oh yeah, during a CNN debate or town hall, whatever it was, and one of the people who asked the question was also formerly in the military, and the woman was asking her a question about abuse in the military, and the woman started to, I want to say, she started like breaking down while she was asking the question, and then Tulsi started crying, and when Tulsi was looking at her in the eye the entire time, because you knew that they knew what they were talking about and the experience, and especially when Tulsi said, God forbid you try to report this, because then if you report this, you're referred to as that one. You're referred to as that person. And then the lady started crying more because she knew the experience, and it's so fucked how women get treated in there. If you want to talk about sexism, that shit exists in the military, bro. You know, all those things, find that shit in the military and fix that shit.
Oh, you're talking about... Oh, wait. Let me get this straight. You're
Right.
talking about Tulsi Gabbard. Oh, you're talking about the Russian asset?
Yeah, man. The guy, no, totally, dude. Putin's puppet, bro.
Oh, dude, you're talking about the person that hates America?
Oh, listen, man. I hear she's running.
You're talking about the terrorist, bro?
Listen, dude. I hear she's running for a third party, man. Even though she's denied it 10,000 times. Come on, bro.
Bro,
Dude,
you're talking
Hillary
about
said it,
you're
dude.
talking about the congressman from Hawaii that fought and is still active in the military.
Yes.
That is actually, but that's just a guise because she's a Russian puppet, bro.
Listen, man. Listen, Hillary has it right. Hillary came out. Hillary was so brave.
Dude,
She was so
Hillary,
brave.
listen.
Girl power.
Listen, I think we all think.
Let's suppress women.
I think we all think, dude, that Hillary has never done a single thing to promote war in her entire political
She's
career.
always been peaceful.
Let me tell you something about this woman. Let me tell you something.
Do it, man. Preach it, bro.
And I think, give me a second.
You can do it, man.
I think I'm gonna.
I know what you mean.
Hillary
Yes.
has been fighting to end these wars
Slay Queen.
for 40 years now, and her husband fought to end these wars.
Yes.
And I'm tired of seeing people like Tulsi Gabbard come in and these Russian puppets come in and try to perpetuate this.
But not only that, but these goddamn Bernie bros.
Oh my
They're
God.
coming out of their trenches and just insulting her. Why are they insulting? Leave her
Oh
alone.
man, I'm so glad that that's starting to fucking crumble at the heels, bro. Like I am so done with this fucking shit. So like not even the Bernie bro thing. I never gave a shit about that.
Of course,
I always thought
yeah.
that was bullshit.
It always was.
But I am so glad that this shit is backfiring. Like it's just so nice seeing like so. This is a good transition right now. So Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire is now, I believe it. I don't know if it was the CNN poll. It might have been the CNN poll that had him at a 9-point lead in New Hampshire now.
if not more than that.
There was one that was higher. There was one that I think was a 14-point lead.
Yeah, the obnoxious
That was
one,
the CNN one. And then I think another one came out, and it might have been like Emerson, or it might have been. It was one of the notables that came out and said they had him at 25 and Biden at 16. So we're starting to see, bro, like these polls are just speaking for themselves.
And not only
because
that, but in Iowa as well.
in Iowa,
making some gains.
Yeah. Now he's a point ahead of Biden. So it's awesome to see that this shit is backfiring.
Yeah.
It is really awesome.
And there's
to
one
see.
poll that I saw that he was like 5 points ahead.
Yeah.
You
Now,
know?
listen, I think this is a point that you make more often than I do. So
Yeah.
I'm quoting you now. But
Please
we
do.
can't just assume that this is a walk in the park,
That
that he has this. No.
definitely will not be. No.
This is now is time more than ever to start knocking on doors,
Mm-hmm.
to start going out doing the texting thing, calling people,
Yeah.
or just keep continuing the conversation.
You know.
Don't let this shit get to you.
And you're right. And like I said on one of the earlier podcasts, is please anyone who plans to vote for Bernie in specific, check if your state is closed primary, if
Yeah.
they are open, if they're whatever they are. Because if you're in a state like ours with New York that is closed, if you're registered as independent, you cannot vote.
No. As
So-
much as Bernie Sanders is technically an independent running as a Democrat,
Oh,
you
totally,
still
yeah.
does not qualify you in closed primary states.
Yeah. So please check your
Go out,
deadlines.
check. We don't have too much time left.
We don't, no.
So I'd say, man, you want to do it now.
Definitely.
Like do it by,
Because New York was one of the more
you
gracious.
have until probably like mid-February to get this shit done.
Yeah, because in New York it used to be October. I want
Yeah.
to say, but luckily they extended it.
Especially to our audience right now. They're young people. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them probably 18, 19 years old, some of you. So get out there, first-time voters. Maybe you voted last time, but you know the shtick then. But get
Totally.
out there. Get out, do what you got to do. Register Democrat, register Republican. Shit, like if you tend to side on Republican views, but you like Bernie Sanders, still go out. And you don't have to
Fuck
be a
it.
Democrat.
And even in general, man, fuck, if you care at all about these issues, get involved in the process. Because you know what, man, it's gonna be great. Because if Bernie wins that nomination, right, on the Democratic side, and it's gonna be awesome. Because people always underestimate the younger voters because generally we never turn out. But it'd be awesome to show the world show America what can happen, and show the establishment what can happen when young people actually get together and come out in waves and droves to show them how we can actually affect the system, how we can fuck their shit up.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an awesome day to
And
see what
I
happens.
genuinely I genuinely think I told you this the other day. I think that we are going to see like record turnout for
We will.
for youth voting.
Because what happened in 2018 with the congressional election, we saw a 40% boost, right?
Yeah.
Something obnoxious like that.
Something crazy. Yeah, I remember reading that.
So in this
And
case
that's
here,
because the people that we were voting in represented us. And we're starting to see that now. So I think that it's going to be record turnout. Now, that just because me saying that, don't take that as like, oh, well, you know what? He says there's going to be a record turnout. There's going to be a lot of youth. I don't need to go. I don't need to do this. It's fine.
oh yeah, no, take nothing for granted.
Do it anyway. We're not just talking about the general here. We're talking about vote in the primaries because that's where shit matters right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, who knows? Like I said, like people know this process is rigged.
Yes,
okay?
big time.
So if we don't go out and if we don't show up with these big numbers and we just sit around and we talk about it and we don't do it, they're gonna get Joe Biden in there. They're gonna get fucking stinky Joe Biden in there.
Jesus Christ.
And it's gonna turn into a 2016 all over again where Bernie just missed. You know?
If Biden wins, I can guarantee
and
Trump will win.
I'll tell you this, even if Bernie looks like he's going to squeak on past, there's a small chance where they can pull some fuckery and make it seem like Joe Biden won by a hair.
Big time.
So we need to get out there. We need the numbers.
The DNC is dirty as fuck. They will do whatever they can to make sure this man does not get elected.
Yeah.
Whatever they
It's
can.
so sad.
So definitely, we have to make sure that our
get
voices
out there,
are
do
heard.
it. Also, I want to stress the importance of this. Now, a lot of people, I mean, the primaries, it's a little different. Now, November 2nd, there's no excuse. You should be allowed to get out there. It's actually against the law to prevent somebody from allowing to go and vote.
It should be a holiday, in my opinion.
It should be a holiday. Yeah,
But
we should have off. But every employer is required in the United States, I believe. And don't quote me on this, but I believe this is true.
Yeah.
Hence why it's called Election Day. Is that every employer should allow you to go out and vote. Now, that is on Election Day. We're talking November. So that's down the line. But when it comes to the primaries, if for whatever reason, like let's say you're out of the country or you're doing, you got something you're working or you got a test or there's something where you just can't get out and vote that day, go up, look it up, go on your state's website and look this up. Look up early voting because that is a thing that is, you don't need,
you're right,
from what I was reading, you do not need an excuse to vote early. So go out there, like let's say, okay, I got something to do that day. I got jury duty. I got whatever, and you can't get there that day, on the day of your primary, go and see what, I know for New York, I believe we can vote 10 days early. And I believe the requirement is, at least this is in New York State, there needs to be one voting booth for early voting for every county, I believe. If that's not, or it's every certain amount of people, 75,000 people, there should be a voting booth.
Let me
Are
see.
you looking it up right now?
Well, right now I'm looking up the date of voting for us in New York.
Okay. I believe it's 10 days early.
Let me see here. Apparently,
Because I know a lot of people that listen to this podcast do come from New York here.
oh, okay. So apparently the primary day is going to be April 28th. Early voting period for the 28th presidential primary, well, April 28th, will be April 18th through the 26th.
Okay. All right, there you have it. So it starts 10 days early. So get in there.
right.
You don't need an excuse to go there. If you say, hey, I'm here, I want to vote, I can't make it on that day, they in New York State, they will let you do it. So don't stress it. You got time to do it now.
That's right.
But also, like Brennan said earlier, make sure that you get out there and you register as a Democrat or a Republican. And you don't need an excuse for that either. It doesn't matter if you're a registered independent right now. You can change it as much as you want. So,
Well, just keep in mind that, as much as you want, but just make sure that you look up the deadlines.
of course.
Yeah, totally.
I just mean like if in the next 4 years you want to switch back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, totally.
Or whatever
the
the deal is. If they make it an open primary state and you want to switch back to independent, then feel free.
Oh,
But,
totally. Because this was the mistake I made last time because I couldn't vote. And honestly, Bernie ended up missing out on millions of independent votes in New York because they didn't register as Democrat.
Yep.
And
I knew that going in because right when how old was I in 20? I think I was 20.
Well, you're 23 now, right? Maybe like 19, 20, we'll say.
I was like 19 or something when, I think I was 19. I might have even been 18, bro.
Shit.
All I know is I was a Bernie fan, and I knew from that to register because I wanted to register as an independent, and this was probably about 5 months out from the primary. And then I knew, I was like, okay, to vote for Bernie, I need to register as a Democrat. So I did that.
Yeah.
But I knew. But again, like you said, not a lot of people were lucky enough for that to happen.
And when they found out, the deadline was already half a year past.
Yep. Which is
Funny,
another
right?
thing, man. They got to change the law, so you should be able to change it up into like a month ahead of time or something.
Fucking voter suppression at work, man. Democracy
There's
my
states that
ass.
allow that. There's some states that you can change it up to like a month or some shit beforehand.
Well, aren't they nice?
Well, guess what? It's almost like they don't want you to vote.
What?
It's almost like they don't want you to vote.
It's almost like if there's less of a voter turnout, you get a stronger.
Oh, boy.
The better corporatist candidate wins and helps their agenda. Fuck yeah, bro.
Oh yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, y'all.
Yeah.
So now it's time to fuck the government. It's time to fuck this shit up, but in the best ways possible, though. Not with a Molotov cocktail, but with some fucking substance, dude. With some policy substance. Talking about bringing power back to the people. And that's why I always love at the end of Bernie Sanders rallies, he's always talking, he always has that song, the chorus plays, power to the people. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Play that shit, bro. You know, bump that shit. You know, that's some fucking better than fucking Travis Scott right there, bro. You know, that's some legit thug shit, man.
I mean, to be honest with you, and this is a hot take, a lot of shit's better than the most recent Travis Scott.
Hey, man, you know what? Don't be hating, bro.
Well, you know,
But,
I hate
man,
a little bit.
He's lit.
Yeah.
No, dude, but Bernie's been having some fucking. He had Portugal the Man there. There are some rallies where he had some trap artists there. He come
sure.
out, it's a damn fucking
He's
party.
got Bonnie Vare gonna play for him, which is a big indie band.
Yeah, Jack White.
Jack
Oh
White.
baby. Wow.
I'm sure. I'm hoping at some point he gets fucking Cardi B to open up the joint.
Oh, dude, listen.
would
You
be
know what,
dope.
man? I guarantee you this. If Bernie gets the nomination, I guarantee you there will be an event where Cardi B will be there. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. 'Cause at that point, it'll be all the stops will be down. It's like, no, we got to do whatever we can. So I think they're going to save Cardi B for that kind of even fucking Ariana Grande, even. You know, like she got another big ass supporter right there. So
Yeah.
they got, listen, man, Bernie's got an arse from the homie.
And they'll do it. They'll do it.
Definitely, they will.
They'll play for him.
Definitely.
But before we wrap this up, because we're almost in wrap up time,
Yeah, bro.
I just want to read through a quick article because this just popped up right now and I want to talk about it.
Do it.
This is a CNN article. And this just concerned me when I saw it, and it just clicked in my head. I feel like I need to talk about it.
Okay.
So, a father's concealed weapon went off when he was play wrestling with his toddler. Police say both were shot in the head.
Oh my god. Wow.
4-year-old boy and his father both were shot in the head after the man's concealed weapon accidentally discharged while the two were play wrestling, police said. The 36-year-old man was playing with a young child in their home in Bloomington, Indiana, when his handgun slipped out of his back and went off. Slipped out from his back and went off, the Monroe County Sheriff's Department said. The shot struck them both in the head. The 4-year-old remains in critical condition at a children's hospital in Bloomington. His father is expected to recover, the officer said. Of course, the child's definitely going to suffer through more because you're fucking... What? Don't you...
Jesus Christ.
It's so redundant because I want to sit here and I just want to say, how can you not be smart enough to put your gun away before you're going to fucking wrestle with your child?
And at the bare minimum, listen, man, I ain't no gun aficionado, but aren't there concealers? Or isn't there a thing that you can do to like prevent it? The safety, right? Isn't there a safety?
There's a safety. But still,
Or
if
even
you
that.
know you're going to be wrestling with your child.
Well, yes,
why you
that's...
It's a 4-year-old. It's not like he's going to throw you on the ground. You got no choice but to like recoil. It's not like it's a 14-year-old son. You know what I mean?
And even then, honestly, yeah.
But even then, like I'm going to make the excuse for this. I'm going to say this. So imagine you're an off-duty officer, let's say, or you're, which I don't know, it doesn't give that information, or you're just a guy that has a concealed permit to hide, your weapon. And you walk in, and let's say your high school age son comes in and just throws you. Maybe you have a wrestling relationship with your father, where like you mess around. Like with me and my stepdad and my stepbrother, we used to joke around. We used to like wrestle and shit when we were in middle school and high school.
Yeah.
And my stepdad's a relatively smaller built man. So he'd walk in the door sometimes, and we could just tackle him to the ground. And that's what it was. And I can see that happening where it's like you walk in with your pistol in your back pocket. And then your kids walk in and they're, obviously they're 13, 14-year-old. They can wrestle you to the ground and it's in your back pocket. You didn't have time to put it away and maybe it goes off or for whatever reason. But a 4-year-old kid, like that would be the biggest thing I would be thinking about. Like, okay, before I even greet my son that's 4 years old or my kid that's 4 years old, the first thing I'd be doing is putting my gun away somewhere in a safe, hopefully, where this kid cannot get to it.
God, dude, I don't know, man.
So, and they had a statistic on the website here. Let me go back to that.
Yeah.
Accidental and preventable gun deaths make up to 1% of overall gun-related deaths in the U.S. According to the National Safety Council, in 2017, there were 486 accidental or preventable gun deaths. Honestly, that's kind of low. I thought it would have been higher.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, but I still 486 unnecessary deaths.
Yeah.
So.
And you know what? And here's the thing. I mean, now I know that if we get into this can go on forever, but to try and like condense it,
Yeah.
because this kind of bringing up that story kind of reminds me. I was on Facebook, and of course, you always find like this like right wing propaganda for gun nuts on here. But what happens is I'm on Facebook, and one of my friends shared this post about how the problem isn't guns, the problem is people. And what happened was that
that's the age-old NRA standpoint.
Oh, totally. And listen,
It's not the guns; it's the people.
And here's the thing, and there's a few things I want to say with that real quick. And one of them, because when I was in my political science class back in 2016, we were debating guns, right? I had a whole class debating guns. And well, for me, I am for the Second Amendment, but I am for quote unquote common sense gun regulation.
Of
right?
course, I agree.
So what happens is I get into this debate with this guy. And what happened was I borrowed a quote from Michael Moore, because Michael Moore had a really powerful quote when he was on Bill Maher a couple of years ago, where he was, because I think, this was I think after, about a year or two after the Sandy Hook shooting, right? All those kindergartners died, right?
God, yeah.
So it was fucking rough. And
Man, I got to tell you, just a quick side
Go
note. Me and Alex would go up and visit his parents up in like the Boston area up there, and we'd have to drive through Connecticut. And I remember the first time I passed through, I was just minding my own business. It was nighttime. And then we passed the sign through Connecticut for Sandy Hook.
Really?
Yeah. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, wow, this is... And it put it in perspective. And the first time I saw it, I got a little choked up. Just because, like, we live in New York. It's bordering to Connecticut.
And
so
neighboring
it's
state,
close.
yeah.
And so, but it didn't really, like, hit me, like, how close to home it was until I realized how close it was passing there just to get to a destination.
Right.
Just one state over.
Oh yeah, like when that day happened, it was
Hook, yeah.
heavy.
Really?
It was heavy to the point where it made even the president cry. It was heavy. So
I remember that.
And the fact that nothing came of it, nothing at all came of it, is fucking disgusting. But that's another goddamn story.
Well, except for Alex Jones accusing people of being, liars.
And luckily,
acting.
oh, you're right.
And luckily, he walked back on that. But
not only that, but he got sued for it. And he has to pay money, millions of dollars for them.
Good.
So good for his ass. You want to say some
He
stupid
also lost
shit?
his platform. So. Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, that's another thing too. But so he got what he deserved with that. But point being is that the quote Michael Moore had, and I'm gonna try and remember as closely as I can. But they're talking about just gun rights, whatever, and about the waiting period to get a gun, right? Mm-hmm. And background checks, whatever. And Michael Moore said, listen, if you are going to get a weapon, if you're going to get a device that has the ability of killing children, of killing kindergartners, listen, at that point there, I don't care how long it takes to wait. We got to make sure we thoroughly check all of these people, to make sure, do whatever we can. Obviously, whenever humans operate anything, of course, we're imperfect, so things will slip through the cracks. But
of course,
the bigger argument here is like, we cannot, just because there's a black market out there where regardless of regulation, regardless of what we do legally, yes, there'll always be a black market, but that should not mean that we should still make it easy for people to get these guns legally when they shouldn't be having it in the first place. There needs to be a much better vetting process for this kind of shit. And I agree with the idea of having a license for guns, the way you would a car or stuff like that. I totally agree with those things there, because this is not something to be played with. And listen, man, I think when people say, "Oh, it isn't the guns, it's the people," for me, it's both. It's both that play a factor in it. 'Cause obviously, the weapon itself, by itself, it isn't a bad thing, but depending on who's using it, it can be used for bad things, and especially if it's an accident like this, where it almost killed a child and a dad. And then in other cases
it's
where
yet to be determined, we don't know.
Yeah, and guarantee that kid's gonna have brain damage for the rest of his life. Guarantee.
Four-year-old child
Fucking shit.
wrestling with your kid when you have a fucking loaded gun in your pocket. You fucking moron.
And people get offended when it's like,
I really hope this guy goes to fucking jail.
Oh, yeah,
I really hope this guy, there's some fucking charges pressed.
Definitely.
I really hope so, because that's unacceptable.
It definitely is. And people have gotten mad when they talk about how, fucking, why should we have people start arguing about having their guns locked away somewhere. They get mad about having these extra safety precautions.
Just put your fucking guns behind a locked door, you fucking idiots.
And
I just don't like it. Makes me so fucking mad. So listen, like, before we before we bring this to a close, and I have a greater point I want to bring up. But I grew up in a household where my father was a police officer. There was a gun in the house. There was 2 guns in the house, right? Then also I had family members that also my grandparents had guns in their house, hunting rifles, crossbows, things like that in the house, right? Not a single time did I see these things, unless if it was they were taking them out to clean them carefully, or we were taking a trip up to the hunting camp. Now, maybe I wasn't an adventurous child and I didn't go looking for them, but I didn't see these things unless if they were being cleaned, they were in the process of transportation, being transported somewhere, and they were unloaded, they were on safety, and there was no way that I could possibly set these things off, right? And I grew up, my dad's side of the family is very conservative.
Yeah.
And I think they would agree with me when I said that you cannot give a gun to somebody that is not, first of all, qualified, or somebody that doesn't understand the idea of safety.
Yeah, or isn't even trained at a bare minimum.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
So I agree with that. And I just want to say, before we wrap this up, if there's anything else you have to say.
There is, yeah, but go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You sure? All right, well, basically what it is, and when I speak about these kinds of things, I'm speaking more towards the minorities more, in terms of the vocal minority of people who are just these extreme gun nuts who love to walk around the goddamn streets where it's legal, walk around with their fucking rifles, walk around with their goddamn guns,
all loaded,
loaded, walking into restaurants, thinking they're fucking tough shit, just trying to compensate for the lack of fucking personality and lack of fucking dick size. To think that, okay, this is what makes me tough. This is what defines me, is this gun that can intimidate, that can kill, and that honestly...
And just threaten the way of life of other people around them just trying to enjoy a meal.
And then, God forbid, you came out and said, hey, this makes me uncomfortable. Like, oh, what do you mean makes you uncomfortable? Like, motherfucker, I have kids here. Get your fucking gun outside and go play somewhere else, asshole.
Yeah.
Go to your backyard.
I see them too. They're holding like fucking AR-15s.
The most obnoxious guns.
Yeah.
This ain't GTA, motherfucker. Yeah, this ain't Vice City.
And again, I'm the type of guy, I agree with you. I agree in common sense gun reform and these policies to prevent this from happening. And I believe in background checks, strict background checks. I believe in waiting times. I believe in all that, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I will say, though, that I'm the type of guy where if you went through all of that, you did the safety course, you know what you're doing, you had some training involved. Right. You know how this thing works. If you have a concealed carry permit, and if you have a small handgun that you want to carry on you because it makes you feel safer in situations, and you keep that thing on safety, maybe you don't load it to the fucking gills, you know what I'm saying? And you have that, and that's in a holster, maybe in your pocket on a holster, and you're safe with this thing. You know what I mean? You're not going to wrestle with your kids and shit. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. I feel okay with that,
And listen,
but when they walk in with these M16s or AR-15s or these AKs or whatever the hell they have, like I would leave the restaurant because I would not feel comfortable because
definitely not.
They can be like, oh well, you have no right to say this. Why are you so afraid, you snowflake?
And not only,
but that's the thing though, is that like, how do we know this person?
Yes, and here's another thing too. You're right, and to capitalize on that, people like that. Well, what if they're in a situation where they get into an argument with someone, they get into this altercation with someone, you don't think they're going to, at least at a bare minimum, hold on to their gun as if they're going to pretend to use it? Come on, man.
I mean,
listen, bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
And listen,
they exist.
That doesn't even that's not what matters to me. The problem is just the fact that it just allows these things to happen. It's a slippery slope.
The possibilities.
It's a slippery slope. Exactly.
Right. And here's the thing, and another thing too is that when I was in that political science class, a lot of these kids were complaining about the waiting. Oh, I had to wait 6 months. I had to wait a year. I'm like, listen, dude, listen. I get it, man. With humanity, we want things now. We want the instant gratification.
Yeah.
But like I said before, when it comes to something that could end someone's life accidentally, potentially, or on purpose, it is totally worth waiting 6 months to a year. Most likely, you're going to be alive. You're 19 years old. This is the age of these kids when I was in this class.
Yeah.
You're 19.
You don't need a fucking gun.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Jesus.
Listen, man. Look, I get it. Fucking hunting can be fun, I guess. Shooting things can be fun. Whatever. I'm not into that kind of shit. I'm sure it could be fun. Whatever. But the fact that you got to complain about not being able to get your hands on a lethal fucking weapon in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Well, the proper what the fuck is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things. I mean, we could be here all night talking about that.
But if I could take just 2 more minutes, just a riff real fast.
Yeah, real fast though.
Yeah. So, but besides that, I think one last thing I think needs to be said, because when people talk about common sense gun reform, I think what needs to be understood is that one of the misconceptions is people think, oh, well, the liberals think that if we have gun reform, that it'll stop all the mass shootings. No one in their right mind thinks that it'll stop all mass shootings. There will always be someone that will slip through the cracks. There will always be something that happens where someone will find their way to get their hand on that gun. But what we can do as a nation is come together and understand the fact that if we can do whatever we can to help to minimize how many of these shootings happen, so that we can have more kids that are around, we can have more friends that are around us that won't be mowed down with these fucking crazy people. If we can continue to think about ways, like we said, with the extra background checks, with having a license, there are ways we can do this where we'll take your guns away.
Yeah, like I don't think people should be allowed to sell guns just to whoever at a gun show. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
At these rallies, gun rallies and shit.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I got into that little debate with this gun nut during political science class, and he's like, "Oh, well, what do you mean? Because at all gun shows you have to have a whatever training."
No, you
whatever
don't.
it was.
No, you don't.
And I'm like, no. I said, well, I think that articles from here, and here will disagree with you. And listen, man. Listen, if you went to one that was responsible enough to not allow that, that's fucking fantastic. Continue to go to that one.
Yeah.
But there are ones all around the states that don't give a shit. That want to make that bottom dollar.
Yeah.
And then what happens? All these gun manufacturers come into these fucking neighborhoods. You know, you get all these gangs get their hands on it. A lot of them are corrupt. You know, they'll just feed up weapons through. It's fucking dirty, bruh. It's dirty. It's fucking dirty. And there needs to be major reform in all these kinds of areas.
Oh, I agree, man.
But so yeah,
I agree.
There's a lot more that can be said about it. But I know you want to end it, but honestly, it's an issue that has been overdue to be solved.
And listen,
or dealt with,
and unfortunately, this is a problem that's going to continue to
Yes, it will.
arise, and we'll talk more about it. So to all those at home that agree with us, or maybe you don't agree with it, you'll hear us talk about this more. I saw that article when I was scrolling through. I mean, we could have ended this a little sooner, but I saw that and I felt a certain kind of way. I wanted to say something.
It was worth it.
Yeah,
totally was.
So listen. Now, I think the bottom line was what we can make about this episode. So we talked about supportive families and supporting your children when they get a job or going through school, or if they decide to not go through school.
Right.
We talked about the unfortunate passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter. We talked about this unfortunate situation with this guy and this gun going off, and unfortunately probably either killing or severely hurting and limiting the life of this child.
And also,
is that the bottom line? What?
And also, we talked about #defend Hillary.
Well, I'm bringing these into a point.
I know what you mean.
I'm bringing these into a point.
Okay.
I think the bottom line of what we can get from this episode is just to make sure that you support the people around you, you listen to them, you understand them, you treat your family with respect, and then you hold your loved ones close while you can.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most important thing that you can do. One of the most, obviously.
Right.
But thank you guys so much for taking the time to tune in and listen to Webcast.
Definitely.
My name is Pseudo, joined once again by the always awesome Liuno over
baby.
here. You can follow us on Instagram at Webcast. That's at WEPPCAST. Then go ahead and follow me on Instagram at Donnie Ego. And then I'm on Twitter, Donnie Ego Death. And very soon, we promise you, we'll get Liuno over here hooked up with his social media.
One of these days.
We'll get that straightened out. And also, guys, stay tuned. Wednesday morning, you'll have my first technical, not my technically first, but my official first solo episode.
Going solo.
And I have I have a very awesome idea for an episode on Friday. I think it's pretty tongue-in-cheek. I think you guys will like it. I got to discuss it with my boy over here.
Yeah, bro.
We'll talk about it. But thank you guys so much. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit that download button.
Baby.
And share it with the people around you, those loved ones that you want to hold close. Because, as far as I'm concerned, anybody that takes the time to tune in and download and to support us, that means a lot to us.
Damn
you guys
straight.
are friends of us.
Mm-hmm. You guys
All
are
right.
family, motherfuckers.
Have a fantastic Monday, and I hope that you have a great day at work or at home, whatever you're doing. Enjoy the start of your week.
Damn straight.
Bye.
Bye-bye.